All right, welcome back to the channel, everybody. On today's show, we have a very special guest, Caleb Bryce. Caleb, how you doing, sir?
Doing well, Rich. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited to learn about you. With that being said, do you mind telling us a little bit about you and your practice?
Yeah, sure. So I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the state of Indiana. I serve the Indianapolis area as well as surrounding areas. I'm primarily located on the south side, kind of the Greenwood area. So the name of my practice is New Direction Counseling, and I've been in practice for going on actually 2 years now. At least with my individual practice. I was part of a group practice prior to that, did some community mental health. So yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's great, Caleb. Who do you help the most at your practice?
Yeah, I would say that couples make a large percentage of my caseload. I also am a certified ADHD clinical services provider. So I work with a lot of individuals as well as couples who are being impacted by ADHD for all different kinds of issues that can bring about. I also serve a lot of adult individuals, a lot of men, specifically men who may be struggling with pornography addiction. I also have some individual adult females on my caseload, working on some attachment struggles, things like this. Also just trauma, I find myself working with clients where the web of trauma and ADHD start coming together and working with them through those. And that's probably some of my favorite work is the ADHD as well as the couples.
Wow. Yeah, lots of threads to pull on there, Caleb. I like to kind of hang out in the ADHD space.
Mm-hmm.
What was that specialized training or that advanced training that you took like, and how does it help your clients outside of like a therapist who may not have that?
Yeah. So last year I did a self-paced certification program through Evergreen Certifications. It was a bunch of trainings, pre-recorded trainings by some of the leading experts in ADHD in our field, such as Dr. Russell Barkley, as well as Edward Howell, as well as Dr. Ari Tuckman. Working in this training, all different types of training, an equivalent of 30 plus hours of sitting in trainings, as well as gaining experience working with clients with ADHD. So learning things from diagnosis to psychopharmacology, working with adults, working with relationships, working with youth and children, different types of interventions that have been shown by research to be helpful for clients with ADHD. And it's just gaining a whole lot of information and applying it to working with my clients. I've found it to be very helpful.
That's amazing. What has the feedback been from the clients that you work with that are looking for help with their ADHD?
I've gotten some good feedback. A lot of my work is focusing on executive functioning skills, just because the executive functioning skill struggle can attribute to some of the more emotional, cognitive struggles with shame, as well as anxiety, depression. So gaining confidence in their executive functioning skills can be a great start. So there's kind of like a coaching element with that. Also moving into the shame cycle that a lot of people with ADHD can fall into, and just breaking that apart and them gaining more confidence in themselves and their relationships.
Wow. Yeah, that's really neat, Caleb. And I don't think I really have seen a lot of clinicians with advanced ADHD training.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that stands out from what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say a client reaches out to you. How do you ensure that they are a good fit?
Yeah. Well, I would say I ask what kind of, am I even knowledgeable, experienced in the concerns that they're looking to address? I'm not an expert in everything, nor I think no therapist should be or try to be, just because that's too overwhelming and it's just not healthy even for us. And it would just actually, in my opinion, do more harm to our clients if we try to be an expert in everything. So it's first of all, just like, that's like the first question. The second question is, what kind of approach are they looking for? Are they looking for a more solution focused? Are they looking for do their issues require more coaching, or just processing, narrative therapy kind of approaches? Are they looking for someone that's a little more laid back and willing to take their time and just kind of be ready to work with them for the long haul, whatever that means? Maybe like 10 plus sessions at least. That's what comes to mind. Also, I am a Christian. I'm not ashamed of my faith. And while I don't hold it over anybody's head, I don't force it on anybody. A lot of clients that I find myself connecting well with are people that do share my faith. I mean, I work with everybody. I mean, from different faiths to no religious affiliation. So if somebody's looking for a Christian faith-based approach, those clients could be a good fit. Also, just that they well, I had one other I had a thought there. Oh yeah, some of the logistical things, like scheduling. Can our schedules even align to where we can meet consistently? Also, costs. What does their financial situation look like? As well as location. I mean, as I said, I'm licensed in the state of Indiana, and that's the only state that I'm currently licensed in. So I can't work with somebody outside of state. But also, where are they even in the state? Are they looking for an in-office experience or even just a virtual? I have clients on my caseload and have had clients where I never met them in person. So some clients are okay even with a hybrid approach. So there's just a lot of logistical questions that I try to get through first. And usually clients answer that on their own by looking like at a Psychology Today profile or something.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Caleb, we're seeing a lot of therapists that have specialties like EMDR, Gottman, CBT. Those are kind of some of the more popular ones, although there's a lot more, as you and I know. For somebody that doesn't really know a whole lot about these approaches, how would you describe your approach?
Yeah, well, some of those things that you did mention, I am trained in Gottman levels 1 and 2. I haven't pulled the trigger on certification just yet. I am also trained in levels 1 and 2 of Brainspotting. That's not as well known type of trauma treatment, where EMDR is a lot more mainstream, but Brainspotting does use eye position. It's not the bilateral stimulation that EMDR is, but it uses eye position to get access to the emotional part of the brain to help people process their trauma. So I really enjoy using that, and that's sort of a growing thing as well.
Yeah, I've heard great things about Brainspotting for sure, and the clinicians who practice are like, man, you got to do it, you got to learn it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Caleb. So besides the modalities that you use, how would you describe your style in session? Like, are you more laid back? Are you a little bit more, bolder and straightforward? Like, how would you describe it?
Yeah, I would say my tendency is more laid back. I can be bolder if the situation really calls for it, but I'm really careful with my, I guess, practicing my therapeutic authority. I really try to have a very collaborative approach with my clients. And what that means is I really try to give some of that authority, or give room at least, to my clients to exercise their authority in the process. One of the questions that I often ask throughout the process is, how how do you know you don't need this anymore? With getting clients to really be thinking about, okay, what does life for me look like, or what does it look like for me internally, for me to know that I don't need to be scheduling more sessions with Caleb. I've reached my goals. And there have been times where I have felt that my client was in a good spot and working to go into maintenance, but they bring something up that they really want to work on that they just thought about since the last session. And so it's like, okay, all right, we're not necessarily moving into maintenance right now. That's on down the road because we got something new that you want to focus on. So really trying to give clients that space to exercise some authority in collaboration with me.
Yeah, that's really cool, Caleb. As we both know, therapy is not necessarily linear, right? Like they
Yes.
don't progress nice and neatly as time goes on. How do you prepare clients for the almost inevitable possibility that progress may involve one step forward and even two steps back? How do you
Yeah.
prep them for that?
Yeah. There's a term I like to use in the early sessions is a loose roadmap. With clients. I use that a lot with couples just because I go over like these are the things that we're pretty much guaranteed to work on in here, whether it's a communication skill, whether it's an exercise in strengthening connection or emotion regulation skills. But it's that idea of like a loose roadmap, like you were saying, therapy is not really linear as much as we try to make it to be sometimes. So but it still gives them an idea. Like we're still going to have direction, but just recognize that throughout this process, there may be stuff that comes up that we didn't get to, say, in the early assessment phase. But it's something that we come across. It's like, oh, we need to address this.
Yeah, that's really cool, Caleb. It sounds like you really have a system in place to be able to walk your clients through that and prepare them for that. I like to shift gears a little bit, Caleb, and talk a little bit about you, if that's okay.
Sure.
So what motivated you to become a therapist in the first place?
Yeah, I would say it starts back in high school. My junior year of high school, I took a psychology class, just kind of like psychology 101, and I loved it. My teacher was great. I really enjoyed the class. Learning about Freud, learning about Jung, and all this stuff. Pavlov's dogs, all the stuff that everybody knows about psychology, right? And I loved it so much that my senior year I took AP psychology, and I did really well in that class, just because I was really passionate about it. And so I took that class, did very well. And then going into college, I actually was going to college to be a youth minister. And I had the summer between my junior and senior year, I was in an internship. And that experience wasn't a bad experience, but there was just some things that I learned that led me to question whether that was the right path for me. And I was minoring in psychology at the time in college. And my senior year, fall semester, as I was wrestling with that question, took a psychotherapy and counseling course that was actually taught by one of the psych professors who also had his own practice. And that to me sealed the deal. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And with that level of clarity, I decided not to go to seminary and went and applied to grad school, and the rest is history. Here I am.
Wow, that's incredible. That professor must have been really good.
Yeah, he had decades of experience. Yeah. And I also one of our assignments was to interview a practicing clinician, and I actually got to interview a marriage and family therapist in town, sat with her for an hour and got to learn about what she does. And that I remember that project very vividly, and that kind of being one of the final nails in the coffin, if you will, of changing my career path.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Caleb.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy most about your work?
Oof. Yeah, that's a good question, Rich. I would say one of the things, lots of things, but I would say just connecting with people, and whether that's my clients, whether that's fellow clinicians like yourself, and just as well as just like it's like a constant education in humanity. Like you get to see like some of the most resilient people, some of the people who have like some of the most horrific stories you've ever heard, yet they're still here. They're still here. They're still somehow able to function on some level. Um, and they just keep going. You also get to see, but it's also like kind of like you get to see the ugly side of humanity as well, and just how people have been hurt. So that education it just never gets boring for me. And as someone who has ADHD, boring just doesn't sit well with me. So it's probably why I was kind of drawn to this. Um, but I also just love like when clients like tell me their wins and the successes and just celebrating that. I think as therapists, we are in a very privileged position. Even though we're getting paid, people choose to work with us. People choose to reveal the deepest parts of their souls, to us. And I think that's a very high calling. That's a very serious position for us to be in, and to be careful with that. But I count it as a real privilege. And I tell my clients that.
Yeah. Wow. As you were saying that, man, I got some goosebumps, and I mean that because I resonate with that deeply, just seeing the clients come in and they're struggling with the relationship or the kid or whatever's going on. And then just seeing them grow through our work together, and that to me is just like a huge, it just makes my heart glow when they're like, hey, I think I'm good, and I'm like, wow, like,
yeah,
that was 12 weeks coming, whatever the time frame was, like, it's like, wow. And then they're gone, and so it really is a privilege, and very humbling privilege for sure.
Yeah.
Caleb, I wanted to ask, outside of the therapy office, what do you do?
I do lots of things. I'm a husband to my wonderful wife, Katie. We've been together going on 13 years. May 4th will be 7 years married for us. Yes, that is Star Wars Day, in case anyone is wondering. That was actually kind of by accident. That year we got married. That was 2019. We were going to get married on May 11th, but that was Mother's Day. And we were like, well, we want to try to get as many people to come in as we can. So the venue was like, oh, the previous week, May 4th is open. It's like, yeah, we'll take it. It didn't hit me until a couple of days later. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's Star Wars Day. So didn't go too overboard. My wife's didn't have the Leia haircut or anything like that, but I did march in with my groomsmen and a Darth Vader mask, and they were wearing stormtrooper masks, and we walked in on the Imperial March. So had to have a little fun with it. So yeah, my wife was like, that's enough. so yeah, but she's great. She's so supportive of me and always has been. She actually, we've been together since college, and we were together when I went through that whole transition from pursuing ministry to pursuing, being a therapist. We also have a lovely, almost 4-year-old daughter, Raylan, who is just a hoot. She is a lot of fun. She's your typical toddler in many ways, but she's also hilarious. Toddlers are so much fun, and I just have a blast doing it. So, outside of therapy, I mean, I love being involved in my local church here in town. We love serving in our church and being a part of our discipleship group and building those relationships. I'm also a history buff. Like, I love history, especially military history. Some of my favorite movies are like, the war movies and stuff like this. let's see. I also game a little bit. I don't have as much time for that nowadays as I used to, but I still enjoy it once in a while. I would say the thing I enjoy most right now is stand up. Last year I got into stand up comedy here in Indianapolis, and that's been a blast.
Wow. Stand up. Can you give us a bit right now? No, I'm just kidding. Caleb, real quick, how did you get into stand up, man? That's so interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it was largely just to keep my sanity. So, but I mean, I've loved stand up. I mean, and I've loved it for years, watching it, going to shows, things like that. It's actually, it was, I did a little stint in like late 2021, but then life happened. Like my wife was pregnant and I was getting ready to move into private practice full time. So that kind of really drug me out of doing comedy. But what triggered that was actually the death of Norm Macdonald, who's one of my favorite comedians. He was big on SNL back in the 90s, did all the OJ jokes and the Clinton jokes back then. He was just hilarious. And when he passed away, that was like really sad for me. And that really kind of pushed me to really pull the trigger on getting on stage and writing. But life happened. And then last year, around this time, I really started thinking about it again. I kind of settled into my practice a little bit, and I was like, man, I really want to get on stage again. And so walked in on an open mic here in town, and wasn't really planning on going up, but I just decided to do so, and had a lot of fun. And it's been almost a year since I've been back in it, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, just the creativity part of it is so much fun. And there's a lot of great people on the Indianapolis comedy scene that I've gotten to know.
Yeah, that's great. Caleb, I wonder if you incorporate some of your humor appropriately in session. And if so, how do the clients receive it?
Yeah, well, keyword is appropriate, Rich. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, I definitely integrate it. I mean, you could say that's part of that approach question from earlier. Is I do like to use humor. I was a little bit here as a great example. A couple that I'm working with. We last week we had a session, and I got my whiteboard, which I still haven't hung up on my wall in my office. So that's my ADHD coming out. But I did the pursuer withdrawer cycle. I was going to illustrate that to them, and I drew it on the whiteboard, and I put it up on my chest, and they both started laughing. And I was like, well, and I kind of paused and looked at them, and they were like, it looks like you're holding like a bra or something on your chest with the cycle on it. so they really got a laugh, and that was a laugh out of that. And they came in, there was some tension there, but I think that just helped break the tension a little bit. And so that was actually their kind of initiating the humor. But definitely if clients laugh at something, I'll lean into that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially given the nature of our job, where it's like they come in to do work on some heavy stuff, and any little nugget of laughter, man, I really lean into and try to like prolong as much as possible and as appropriately as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, Caleb. All right. So let's say somebody is they're watching this episode, they're like what they're hearing, but they're still maybe on the fence, they're reluctant to reach out.
Sure.
Maybe they've never experienced therapy before. What would you like them to hear?
Yeah, well, if they're feeling hesitant about therapy or just nervous, I would validate that 100%. One, therapy is not something to be taken lightly. It is an investment, not just a financial investment. It's a time investment, and it's a mental, emotional investment. And depending on what a person wants to work on, you're just being ready to embrace that process. So it is a big decision. So of course one could be nervous about that, and makes all the sense in the world to me. I would just say that I would just say that with therapy, like, just reach out, ask questions. I think a good therapist is going to understand that hesitation, understand that nervous feeling, and respond to questions that this whoever is inquiring has. So I really try to. So like if someone is wanting to reach out to me, for example, just reach out. I offer 15 free 15-minute consultations. The 15 minutes is not like, a blood oath or anything, but it's just this idea of asking me questions. Like, it's not just about me asking them a whole lot of questions. It's them asking me questions.
Yeah, that's great, Caleb. And if somebody, reaches out and then for whatever reason, it's not a good fit, do you help that person maybe find a clinician that can help them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of an expectation, I think, as part of our education and training as therapists to uh, have people that we would think would be a better fit for somebody who reaches out to us. So yeah, like I will, if somebody wants help, finding somebody that's not me, great. There's lots of great clinicians out there, and yeah, none of us have a monopoly on mental health, nor should we. So absolutely.
Gotcha. Well, I like to shift gears one last time, Caleb, and ask about your practice. What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking. So I have some workshops in the works right now. Two in particular. One is just kind of your basic communication connection workshop for couples. Like, workshops can be great. Perhaps a couple feels they're not communicating as well as they'd like, or not connecting as much or as well as they would like, but they're not in a situation where they need like a therapy process and that ongoing care. They just want to go spend an afternoon or a morning or a weekend, just learning some things that are practical, that they can apply to their everyday life to improve their communication and connection. So I've got something like that in the works right now. Working on both a virtual workshop as well as an in-person. Also, my second workshop is more for couples where ADHD is a factor. You're learning some, again, kind of maybe same situation. They are not in a crisis situation or in a situation where they need ongoing care, but they are aware that ADHD, whether it's one or both partners who have those issues, learning ways to work with that. I call ADHD the unwanted third wheel. Working with that unwanted third wheel to better their communication, better their connection, and just some of these, how they can help each other with executive functioning struggles that show up.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And I know that there's such a huge need for what you're providing, and especially that one about the ADHD. That's going to be a hit, because I know so many people that are dealing with ADHD, and if it is within the couple and the relationship context, like, I think it's going to be great. Such an amazing resource for the folks over there.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, how can people reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, so you can look me up on Psychology Today. I have a Psychology Today profile. I also have my own website. It is sdgnd.counseling.com. You can look me up on my website. You can, on the homepage, there's a request consultation. It'll take you to a page to request a consultation, or just reach out to me directly through email or through a phone call to set something up with me.
Yeah, that sounds great. Caleb, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and being part of the show and sharing a little bit about yourself and your practice. Maybe we could do it again in the future. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds like fun, Rich. I really appreciate it. I've had a blast.
Awesome. All right, Caleb, thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.